Hello, welcome back to the burning wheel of money lending intrigue. Welcome back to Burning Wheel. We just saw as Nara went on a vast expedition to secure the Bolnar Village Fund, which she's done, and all she owes is a spell to be cast for the Guilders someday in the future. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
And I think with that, so if you get the way I'm going to say that is that your resources are now taxed one die, right?
Mhm.
And until you make that deal and cast that spell, and it's got to be it doesn't have to be a big spell, right? It can be an ob one spell, right? Because
Right.
you're only taxed one die. So, um, and that was probably like in the contract that you signed. So,
Mm-hmm.
they can't ask you to, call down a comet and smash down their enemies. It's going to be an ob one spell, uh, or an ob one sorcery roll, which could even be like, hey, could you tell us if this is magic or whatever that is?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be an ob one something, and they'll ask you what we'll figure out what that is whenever you want to like get rid of that uh, minus one tax. But yeah,
Right. Because
you're
now
taxed one die.
I now have a B1 resources taxed one, so I now have
Right.
a B back to a B0, but I've got a 2D fund,
Yes.
and
I,
yeah.
I feel like that works very well with the vague metaphor for a first generation college student, where you're like, I've got money and my credit card is bills due. Like
Yes,
it
exactly.
feels like it. Yeah, like fantasy metaphors that I like. It doesn't line up perfectly, but it does kind of line up. So that's
Yep.
cool.
This
Um,
is totally her freshman college Citibank back when Citibank existed. Uh,
oh my goodness, I love it.
Credit card,
Uh,
yeah, with
I had that card.
27% interest.
Yeah, I had that card for a really long time.
Yeah,
That was
I had
quite a
that
thing.
card until one day I finally was like, this card has a tiny limit and a terrible interest, and I don't know why it's still here, and I'm cutting it up now.
Yeah, I think I asked them to increase the limit, and they said no, and I said okay, and I just cut the card into pieces and forgot it
Yep,
existed. So they can they can go up themselves.
yep.
Damn guilders. Uh, cool. I think Viodrun gets on the cart and and thanks you. Says we'll have our radishes out here in within the week. I hope. Thank you so much.
I hope this works. I know that it's not permanent, but as long as Shadowholt is here, I think you'll have a good chance. You'll
Yeah, yeah, and I think like as she goes, like you say, like as long as Shadow Hulk is here, right, and she goes away, and then I think the tracking shot goes across that plaza to the tower where Kaji
yeah,
and his jackals are, right?
yeah,
Uh,
right.
and it says and I think there are probably banners to the to the some of the weird dukes uh,
Yeah.
hanging from it.
And I
And
kind of like I think I like immediately like look over in that direction, and I'm like, all right, it's time to make good on that promise on that too. And
right,
Nara is just like so out of her depths, but um I feel like when you buy a house, you get like literally handed 200 pages of paperwork, and they're just like, sign it. Like, don't read it. It's stupid. Just sign it, right? And it's impractical to read it. And I feel like that's how Nara's like, I don't know what I just signed. Like, I hope it's good, and so she's like, well, this will be like, ironically, what she's about to do next is going to feel more natural to her than what she's just been doing, which is she's going to go summon a dead person. Or at least that's my goal.
yeah,
um, and it's uh, it's notable that she hasn't told Bezor about any of the stuff with Bolnar yet. Like, it just hasn't come. Not because she's particularly been hiding it, but it just
yeah,
hasn't sort of come up.
yeah,
Um, so it might now. We'll see. But yeah, I think I imagine I might like have to walk around the shadow hole for a little while to find him because now he's been made a counselor, and I'm sure there's lots of other wizards that want to talk to him and things like that.
Right.
So I think I'm gonna cruise around Shadowholt and look for my mentor.
Cool. I think you see him walk out of a tower with Prince
Oh wow.
Bulnar the second.
Mm-hmm.
And uh yeah, I think there is this abandoned, not abandoned, but unutilized tower, a
Mm-hmm.
dark tower that you can clearly see from the size of it and the placement of it on one of the hub points in the Shadowhold that it's a counselor's tower, and Bizor walks out of it, and but keeping people away from the tower is like a line of dwarven guards uh, with not hand axes, but sweet axes, long hafted
Like halberds.
axes.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the crook of their arm, over their shoulder. And I think like as you walk up, one of them steps, and she says, "Whoa there, miss. The apprentice is talking to the uh, the new council mage. You can't go
Oh,
look at this tower today.
it.
Just turn around and go back."
But I know.
Uh-huh. I think she looks at your shoes and like looks a little confused and says, "Head on out."
Okay. And
I
I
think
think
she like she turns to like one of the other uh, soldiers. And, it says something in Dwarvish, that
yeah.
maybe you catch, maybe you don't. Something about like these damned human farmers are
Right.
without use.
Um, I think Nara sort of like backs away, and she's like looking up at the tower as she's backing away, hopefully not getting run over by a cart in the street.
Right.
And if one almost runs her over, I mean, I can imagine her leaping out of the way. But I want to look and see if there's a wheel on the top of it.
Yeah. Uh, cool. A cart does not run you over, but I think it goes closer than you'd like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think you can see something on like the rail, on the edge of the tower, that you think might be a wheel.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, Bizor sees you, and and you see him like bow to Prince Bulat, and Prince Bulat says, "Congratulations. Uh, I'm sorry I had to ask those questions, but I had to know." And he says, of course, I would have asked the same." And he says, I think he hands him a key, and
Oh, nice.
I think like he kind of like looks taken aback, and he says, "The tower is yours until you choose to leave. Uh, People have spent their lives here. It'll be good getting to know you, Bazor." And Bazor nods and kind of looks shocked. I think he like walks up to you, and he's got like his staff in one hand, and he's a little bit like his clothes have clearly been cleaned.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he was dirty, but he was from the road, right?
He
And
was a traveler. Yeah.
he was a traveler, and he was a hermit, rogue wizard.
Yeah.
And I think he just looks like he's been, as they say in Queer Eye, he's been zhuzhed a little
Yeah. He
zhuzhed.
was. Yeah.
If you could, Bizarre, you look great, but if you could just like take a few minutes in the morning to just like get a little moisture under your eyes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Get rid of some of the redness in your
get a
cheeks.
little bit of just get some of the road off you.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's definitely zhuzhed a little bit, and his beard is trimmed. He's been to the barber, and his white beard, and he says, "Well, I'm on the Archmage's council."
And Naris, right when he made eye contact with Nara, she was like literally a moment away from like pulling her cloak over and gonna like sneak in, because she just, when someone says like you can't come here, she's just like, okay, I don't know you, you don't trust me, I'm gonna sneak around. Like that's just like
Right.
like such her mindset. I'm just like, it's this sort of like still irresponsible kid, like I don't, you know. And so
Yeah.
like right as he saw it, she sort of let go. And but when he says that, she sort of cocks her head and is like, that's a good thing, right?
Yes. Yes. I don't think my apprentice is supposed to drag me into trouble. I think I'm supposed to drag my apprentice into trouble.
I mean, there's some, you say you hate trite sayings, cliche sayings, but there's something about apprentices and masters and who is which and which is who. I'm sure we could find a saying about it.
It's quite clear who the apprentice and who the wizard is, and I do not like the word master. And let's take a walk. I have something to show you.
Oh, good. I had a question for you as well.
Come, say it while we walk.
Um, I I think I would like a shot at. I think I'd like to try and summon Igna myself. I did it with you last time, and you led, and I drew the circle, the fortress circle, and I think I paid attention, and I think that with your help, I could try it myself.
I'm not sure that you're ready. Right? Because your skill is not open, right?
No, no, I have no summoning
Right.
skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel comfortable saying that he has given me instruction so that I can mark
Yeah.
one
Oh,
trinket down?
totally.
Okay.
Totally.
I felt like that was what we did last time, but I wanted to just
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I said that, but yeah, if
Okay.
it's not clear, he says that again. He says, I don't believe you're ready. I'm glad you asked, because I think that would be a very dangerous thing to try to do on your own.
Says I bel I'd like to practice it. Um, Oops, I put it in the wrong place. Summoning. I'd like to practice it, and but also I have a desire. You said that if you make a tribute to the dead, that they can offer you services,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like Igna's service in a way that I think to help me accomplish something. I think his name will ring louder than mine or even yours, for that matter. And she's kind of like on the fence about this because she doesn't know if she wants to tell his or her whole plan, because she's afraid of him like disapproving of it, and then
Yeah.
so it's like better to ask forgiveness than permission. But she says, I think if I could get him to speak with Kaji, he might be better at convincing him to wait.
Mm.
If I understand from what you said, I can ask a service of the dead, and they'll ask for tribute. And I think that if I asked for him to speak with Kaji and tell him about the fire and the pain and the danger, then maybe he would. If an archmage, if an apprentice tells a wizard, they're well. Anyway, I think it might work.
I think, and he kind of sighs, and you get to some shop in the middle of the city. I think you've mostly spent your time kind of around the edges, like
Hmm.
where the plazas are, and now you're like in these like weird, cramped little, uh, little alleyways, and little tiny side streets. And he finds this one shop, and like you really weren't paying attention. You were kind of talking to him very earnestly, and he
Hmm.
opens the door to the shop and
Yeah,
ushers you in.
I think I just sort of walk
Yeah.
in, not still not paying too much attention to where we're going.
Yeah, and the uh, the owner of the shop says, "Ah, Bizarre, wonderful to see you, wizard. We have it. It's ready." And he says, "Good. Uh, could you show it to me and my apprentice?" And he says, "Of course." And he takes out this very simple staff with iron on each end, and he says, "Walk us through it." And he says, "This is an iron shod staff, uh, very standard wizard. The wood was taken from an oak tree that was hit by lightning in Karakage. So the tree died. We did not kill it. We did not take anything out of it, as you asked. But the tree was hit by lightning some years ago. It was growing near the old tower, uh, where things are prone to grow in that town because it has been abandoned. And we made it from that wood, and the iron was mined from the dwarves, and it is it is a fine piece of staff work.
I think there's a little flashback to Nara playing in that abandoned area and like, the dead
Mm-hmm.
tree there that climbing in
Yeah,
as a wee a little one.
and
Um,
he picks it up, and he kind of like, you know handles it roughly, and smacks the iron shot on the ground, and then puts both sides in his hands and holds it up to you and says, "Apprentice Nara, you have been staved. This means that I trust your ability with sorcery so that you may cast spells when you are unattended."
there's a part of her that's just like, oh, that was a thing that I was supposed to do before, right, and
Right.
because she's cast spells several times.
Well,
um
I mean, and I think he hasn't been very forthcoming and like,
yeah,
no, you can't do that, right? Like,
no, it's
I think if he's got a fault, it's that he doesn't really set. He's not great at setting boundaries, right? That's
yeah.
not his strong suit.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, he hands you this Karakage wood staff.
Yeah, and Nara is like, yeah, she her eyes go wide when he sort of says this. I mean, you know, he was talking about the staff, and she figured it was for her, but she also was like, thought there was gonna be some other trial, and she's like, and she and I think she takes it from him. Is it heavy? I imagine it's
Uh, I don't think so. I mean,
okay.
I feel like people think medieval weapons were a lot heavier than they were.
Yeah.
It's substantial, but I don't think it's heavy. I think it's well weighted,
Hmm.
and it's substantial, but I don't think it's heavy.
Cool. And I kind of, roll it around. I like feel the balance and kind of balance it in my hand a little bit, and then I hold it at my side, and I like thud the iron shot down on the ground, like like not loud, but just like a
Yeah,
sturdy thud, and yeah, I mean, I think this is like an incredible gift and like an incredible
yeah,
not only is it an incredible gift, but it's also this like incredible um faith that Bezos is putting in Nara, which she hasn't always felt like she's earned. And yeah, I think she just starts sort of welling up and is, uh, looking down like I got something in my eye.
yeah. And I think
And
the staff maker like sees what is happening and like he smiles to himself and then like leaves the room, like goes into the workshop area. So like, you two can have a moment. And I think Bazor like, hands it to you and then like, puts his hand on your shoulder and says, from you were born in Karakage, which I think is very auspicious, not because the Archmage will be born in Karakage, but because from the hub of the wheel, you can go anywhere. It is your choice. So,
Yeah. She says, "Well, thank you. I'm," and she sort of like keeps hefting it a little bit, just getting used to it. Really, just trying to like get a feel for it. She says, I'm glad that I have such a good traveling partner."
I am not your partner. I am your teacher.
Right.
I know you are a little old for being an apprentice. I know most people your age are a full wizard on their own. But I think uh, I think you still have some things to learn before your apprenticeship is done. You are not released. You are not a journeyman yet. You are an elder apprentice.
There's a part of her that just can't help, but she's like, and like Yisa is like literally almost 10 years younger than she is. I think Yisa is like 9 years younger than she is,
Yeah.
but she's still like, I don't. Yisa doesn't have a staff. Apprentice, like.
That is true. Yisa is going to grow up to be your colleague. Eventually, she's going to have something that you need and want. Know that. If you make an enemy when you're an apprentice, it's just the way it works. They're going to have the book or the antecedent or that one thing you need to finish a project that means the world to you. I promise. It works out that way every time.
And she's like struggling a little bit because I don't think she's ready for that bit of wisdom, right? Like
Right.
she hears it, but she's like, she was wrong though, and they're both right, but he's more right in this case. Like,
right.
or him being right has more important, is more important than her. She's like, so with the staff, I can draw my own circles.
You could technically. You could
instruct me and see if I'm. Last time I did it with yours, but it seems like good practice. She's like, trying to egg him on towards summoning. If you think I'm not ready, then perhaps. And she's a little crestfallen at this, but she's like, but perhaps you could, if you do the summoning and I ask the question, who pays the tribute?
We can ask that you pay the tribute if that's something you are interested in. I have summoned 4 other people before. It is known. And Igna is a very forgiving summoning. He will listen to reason.
So will you do it?
Let's go.
Cool. Out of character knowledge, but just throwing it out there. I know that you had an event that sort of you wanted Nara.
Oh no, totally not. Yeah.
No?
If it happens, it happens. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if you want him to say, "Well, let's do it in the morning," or I'm happy
nope.
to. Okay.
Nope. I'm
cool.
not. I'm not married to that. I'm just saying like that was an idea I had.
Yeah.
We can get to it or not get to it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think at some point Nara is definitely going to have to try and mend fences with Yisa, so that might be a good opportunity to to have
Cool.
some gathering.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I think she wants to try and do as much as she can of the summoning. Last time, he definitely led her through things, and she's eager to try and do at least that much. And if there's any other steps she can take, or maybe just the same, um, maybe just the same work that she did last time, but this time with her own staff and drawing in the sand, um, and all of that jazz. Any obstacles to getting to the tomb itself? Else
No.
using it?
Yeah, I'm not interested in that. Yeah, I think you get into the um you get into the tomb, and I think like when you get there, Fennec is there waiting, right? Like he put out some kind of a magical hoodoo, and
Mm-hmm.
so like Fennec is there, and the guides. It's getting to be towards dusk, so the guides let you in, um and I think last time uh Bezor like lit all the lanterns because he
Mm-hmm.
knew his way around, and I think he hands you the torch and says, "It's your show until the summoning." And I think he lays down next to a statue and takes a nap.
Nice. Awesome.
So
Uh,
what does she do?
well, I'm gonna light all of the I'm gonna light all the fires,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to kind of I think I'm gonna like I think take off when she gets onto the sand. She takes off her shoes, takes off her boots, stretches out her toes, and then starts. I think she kind of begins to start drawing the fortress circle, and then realizes, like, she looks up and we're in a tomb, right? There's no outside light at all,
Right,
right?
right.
And she kind of looks back at her star chart and is like, hmm, he's sleeping. She's like, let's try something new. And I want to use my art magic
Yeah.
to gain an advantage on astrology. Um, and so that I can make a link test, an astrology link test to help with this.
Okay.
And I am going to take my star chart, and part of the school of wind and chain is also illusion. So this is an advantage. This is an advantage move, but I think it kind of calls under the category of some things that she's done in the past, where she's sort of animated uh, glyphs and letters, and I'm going to try and paint a constellation on the ceiling so we can see the
Okay.
stars as they are now,
Okay.
on the rogue bow, as an advantage to an astrology test.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Cool, cool, cool.
because I
Nice.
figure this way, like, we can see them. So let's name this spell, because
Yeah.
uh, gotta name them for the bonus die, but also
Posterity.
for posterity, for coolness, for the fact that, like, all right.
Are you keeping all these spells somewhere?
I am, yes. If you look in
Okay,
the
good, good,
magic
good.
tab on the character sheet, I
Good,
have
good, good.
them all under incantations,
Excellent.
and how many times I've cast them. All right. So we're
Luke
gonna.
suggests Tapestry of Night or Canvas of Night.
Oh, I love that. Let's
Night's
go.
Canvas.
Yeah, I like canvas. Yeah, canvas of
Cool.
night. It sounds good.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Luke. This is the best part of naming things, is having people to help out doing it. So this is a bit convoluted. Tell me if you feel like I'm kind of going overkill here. I just feel like this is the way in which Nara would try and help this. Is that I want to I can lend a helping die to him doing summoning normally, but I want to in addition to helping, I want to like I think I can help with sorcery, but in addition to helping, I want to do a link test with astrology to figure out to find out the perfect time, the perfect alignment to do the summoning.
Okay.
Does that sound cool
Sounds
to
good.
you? Is that
Yeah.
too much overkill?
No.
It feels like it's the way. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna go for a plus 2d advantage, which I think is ob 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep. That's ob 3 sorcery. Um, and I'm going to take my time with it. I've got plenty of time down here. He's sleeping. I'm going to really like, I think I'm going to actually like, uh, how high up is the ceiling? Is it a low ceiling? Can I touch it with my staff, or is it
You
way?
can touch it with your staff. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
cool. So yeah, I'm gonna reach out with my new staff, and I'm gonna like trace out these symbols as they appear. I'm gonna take my time with this. So I'm gonna cast this spell carefully.
Cool.
And yeah, let's do it. I technically you can fork astrology into sorcery, but it feels really cheap to fork astrology into sorcery to gain an advantage on astrology test. So I'm not going to do that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna taking 2 dice though, one for being doing it carefully and one for doing it. Uh, oh no, that went terribly. All right,
Wow.
well now we get to find out what happens when someone fails a sorcery test.
Yeah. Um.
Not even a little. Like I just whole whiff that.
Wow. Wow. That is. I was not prepared for that. I thought this was
Yeah.
just going to be.
I thought this was gonna be yeah, open skill 6 dice for up 3. I was like, yeah, I got this. And then I could spend a fate to reroll one of them. I was like, oh yeah, no problem. But the dice say otherwise.
Um. The GM may apply an obstacle penalty equal to the margin of failure. The hindrance has the same duration and breadth as the intended spell. Enmity and infamy. Unintended effect. The GM may twist the intent of the spell so that it has an unintended and unhappy effect. The unintended effect could be that the original effect is not what was planned for, or the original spell doesn't activate at all. Instead, bird flies out of your mouth, devils peel themselves from the wall, or the house catches fire, etc. The only limit here is how evil your GM feels at the moment. If the spell is failed, the GM may call for a tax test as per the standard rules. The sorcerer must pass a fort test with an obstacle equal to the obstacle of the spell. What was the obstacle of the spell?
3.
Margin of failure temporarily reduces fort. If the fort is reduced to 0, the character is incapacitated. If fort is reduced below 0, the character suffers a wound. Cool. I'm gonna say attacks. I'm gonna say make a fort, an ob 3 fort test.
Yeah, let's see what happens. I can imagine that maybe art magic is changing the nature of this tomb could be really much more difficult than she thought it was.
Yeah.
All right, I got 2. I did get a 6, so I could spend a fate to try and make that. I think if I fail it, I am my fort is taxed, right? If I that or
Right.
yeah. I kind of like that. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with our fort being taxed.
Yeah. And I agree with Luke. I think there is also an unintended effect, and that is that right at this second, Kaji was reading astrology and had an image of Nara picking up the burning wheel and stealing all of his glory, and him fading into nothingness as history forgets that he ever existed, and Nara becoming the fifth archmage, a particularly auspicious number, in this pantheon, in the
Yeah.
Lord of Fire's pantheon, right? So yeah, yeah, so that happens. And I think like, yeah, I like the idea that trying to change the tomb, this was made by very powerful wizards, and um, and I think like as the spell fails, there's like a pressure change in the room, a
Hmm.
barometric pressure change, and like your ears pop, and I think like Bezor kind of like snorts awake and says, "What happened?"
And like I think Nara's ears are ringing. She's like, I used my staff. Uh, I tried to cast a spell, but it didn't work.
What spell? I had a fell dream.
I tried to cast a spell to map the. I named it. She's like trying to salvage something out of this. She says, as though this was like a thing that exists. She's like, I tried to create a canvas of night over the roofs so that we could see the stars above.
Hmm. We are done for tonight. And I think he like starts snuffing out lanterns and says, "We'll come back another day
Because you had a bad dream? Because I cast a
because
spell?
you had a bad casting, and I had a fell vision, not a bad dream."
And I think there's a like she starts, putting out the lights and she sort of like looks back at the tomb. Um and yeah, there's this like, damn it. Um like lost the opportunity and
Yeah,
and uh and yeah, and but I mean, he's there and she's feeling, dizzy and fatigued, and so
yeah,
yeah, I think she, she's a bit sullen about it, but she puts out the lights and heads out with him.
yeah. This happens. That was that was a failure that went as well as it could have. Let us be thankful. Just walk away and shake it off for another day.
Yeah, you said failure is normal, right? It's a thing that happens. We all mess up.
It is a matter of how we deal with it. And sometimes you walk away. I think like he looks back at the tomb like, like almost with suspicion, right? Like
Right.
something,
Yeah.
and
And I think like after they get out and they're back outside, she's done. She's sort of undone all the preparations. She's evened out the sand. She's flattened the sand with the edge of her staff, and
yeah,
removed the circle. She's put out the lights. She's put the draped the cloth back over the tomb, etc.
yeah.
All those things. When they get out, she says, Do you wish to tell me of your fell vision?"
No. You see him considering it, and it's about you, right? You
Yeah.
you know it's about you. And he thinks about it and says no. And I think he's kind of quiet and sullen for the walk back to Rasmus's tower. And he says, "We'll move out of Rasmus's tower tomorrow. The dwarven abadarts will be by to pick up my things and move them into my tower."
And I think Nara isn't sure if that's related or some sort of punishment for this. You know, she doesn't know if that's,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, she says, "Oh, okay, this."
As a way to pay for the time we've stayed there, I would like you to translate a piece of Igna's book and just give a verbal presentation about what it contains to uh, to Rasmus tomorrow.
Her eyes kind of go wide, and she says, "Yeah, I can do that." And he knows that she doesn't know how to read.
Yeah.
I think we talked about last time, and she's like, "Maybe you could get me started."
He says, "Why don't you go to your room? There will be help there."
Yeah, this all feels like weird and auspicious, and Nara doesn't know if if he's mad at her or if he's
Yeah, yeah,
worried, or
yeah.
it's just like this kind of like weird thing. And I'll just throw out there, like, I don't think this really changes anything, but I imagine Nara has the character trait spooky, and which I sometimes forget about. I imagine when he woke up, like the shadows and whatnot around her just did not look good. It just looked
Yeah.
scary. Um,
And I think like there's a room across from or there is a room next to yours. And you can tell that like someone's in it now, like someone lives there. Someone has moved in.
mhm.
And I think like as you go up the stairs, a young woman walks out in a nun's habit, and she has a necklace with a very simple five-spoked wheel around her neck, and then like a full brown and deep red habit.
Do I recognize the vestments? Do they look like
It's definitely like a nun of the Church of the Burning Wheel,
right?
which is the church around
Right.
here.
Yeah. 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 So I think Nara kind of Nara's very differential to she's a believer. She's very differential to sort of clergy,
Yeah, and
and
I think she's
when she's
your
not
age
naked,
too. Yeah,
um,
yeah.
and she sort of like bows her head a little bit and says, "Oh, I didn't know there were more guests in Rasmus's tower. Are you staying here now?"
I am Sister Elodie. Uh, I have been hired by Bezor by the wizard Bezor to help you with your reading.
And she flushes because it was something she was embarrassed about.
Yeah,
Even though Bazor didn't make a big deal about it, and he was like, "Oh, should have taught you that." It's something that she was embarrassed about because so many other people knew how to read, and she didn't. Do nuns smooch? I mean, nuns might smooch. I don't think the Lord of Fire has any. Judd declares yes. Um, anyway, she's Nara is embarrassed. She's like, "Oh, okay. Where should we go? Should we go to my room?" She sort of wants to
uh,
escape public
of
view.
of course.
What did you say your name was again?
Elodie. You can call me Sister L if you wish.
Uh, Thank you, Elodie. I appreciate any help you can give. And yeah, she's just looking like,
You should
not
you should not be ashamed. Many people from villages, they never learn to read. So it is good that you will be able to.
yeah, it's true. Many people from villages never learn to read, but not many wizards don't learn to read.
Hmm, this is very true. And I think like she probably has LOD was like cast as like an up and coming French actress, right? Like I think she has like just like a touch of like a French accent. I'm not gonna like overdo it, and go français, but
Thank you.
and insult anyone. But like if you hear me trying to do something, then it's like just a little bit of
A
that.
little bit, yeah.
Just a touch, a touch, a touch, touch of a touch. I'm gonna try not to overspice it. And if I overdo it, just be like, Judd, you're killing me, and you're killing anyone who has any kind of
Oh,
French
Judd,
background.
I had the most god awful not Scottish accent in a game with you that was so terrible, and I was like, I'm gonna try it, and it was so heinous. You don't ever have to apologize for any.
I didn't think that accent like that. All right. So anyway, yeah, she's yeah. So she says many wizards do learn to read, but I do not know a disproportionate number of wizards are city born or noble born. There should be more from the peasants and the villages, no?
I mean, odds are, if you want to be an archmage, you should grow up in a little village in Karakage. And she's saying that like a joke, like that's where Igna was, right? Like Igna
Right,
was from this little tiny town,
right.
and Ostafa was not, could have been city born, she doesn't know, but was from far away, and who knows where Enoch was from, but doesn't, none of them are, at least in their like canonical understanding of them, like especially noble born or city born, as far as she knows. Like they totally could be, but it's not the thing that stands out about them.
Yeah. So like not trying to like one up you, but just because LOD knows,
Uh-huh.
she's like, oh, Estofa came from Arani city, and in the hills, and of course, Ignis was born in Karakage, but his parents they were uh, they were city merchants. They moved around a lot.
Hmm.
Technically, he was born in the city. He was a city boy. If you'll excuse me speaking of the Archmage as such. I have studied them very much. I am fascinated by wizards. I wish I had your gift. It's very inspiring to be able to be helping you.
Um, and and yeah, and like I think that puffs the flip boosts Nara's ego a tiny bit, that she's so interested in wizards, and she's like, well,
Yeah.
we'll have to swap stories. I maybe we'll both get something out of this, and I think she's gonna go and rummage for Igna's book
Mm-hmm.
and
And she
say
says,
this.
if you excuse me, I overheard Master Bazor say uh, that you had a presentation to give tomorrow, no?
I do. I have to do a reading from a book that I don't know how to read.
Very good.
But
We will help you. Come.
great.
And yeah, I think she, you know, she teaches you, she says, what do you want? Which excerpt? Um, yeah.
The excerpts are probably separated by a page. If this is an illustrated manual, that it's like
Yeah.
a page with a giant letter. It signifies the beginning of a chapter or the beginning of an
Yeah.
excerpt,
Yeah.
right? So I think she's gonna go flip open the book to some place, and it's where she was getting the most glyphs that she used to read her letters from Eogdolin and her mother, because was like the source of text that she was using to parse out the others. So she pulls that open. She says, "This is the one that I've studied the most so far. I still don't know what most of these glyphs mean, but a few of them I've worked out."
Cool. Yeah, I think it is. Well, let's make a roll.
Yeah.
I think she's got 3 dice, and she's super nervous, so she's going to spend her persona for her. Oof, she got 1 success.
Oh no.
She's super nervous, right? And uh, how does teaching work? Like, what does 1 success get you with instruction? Does
I
it
don't know
get
that
you like?
I don't know that it gets you anything. Um, let's see.
I'm on page 278.
Cool.
See learning from another in Burning Wheel. No page number. Luke. Not that Luke, the other Luke.
It's an advancement, I know.
Opening, learning from another. 1 for a routine test, 2 for a difficult test. So you get a routine test.
Okay, that's
Okay.
all I need. Cool. Awesome. She got it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think she's, you're like, oh man, she's not that good. Right? Like this is gonna be fucking hard. But I think you also get the idea that she's very nervous, and she's studied wizards and hasn't been around them very much. And
Yeah.
so and the other thing, like I think she says, this book, I have studied all of Igna's writings. I have seen copies of all of his scrolls. Where did this book come from?
And it's notable before we started, she's like, do you have a stylus? Do you have a
Oh yeah, and I think she takes out like a wooden pointer, right? She's
yeah.
got like a, yeah, she
Yeah.
has the pointer, totally.
Because she definitely wants to use this. She's like, oh, it's not a copy. It's one of his old, it's a lost book. Or not
What?
lost, I guess, but held by a spirit.
What?
I met a spirit and I asked for his lore, and this is what they gave me. But I haven't been able to read it yet. I've only been able to parse out a few characters.
Well,
But I've been trying to not make a big, not raise it to everyone's attention, in case it turns out that
where did you find it? Did his ghost give it to you? Because you are the next archmage?
No, but a spirit that he bound did.
This is amazing. She helps you read a section, sound out
Yeah.
a section in which he hunts down a wizard and kills them with sorcerer's fire.
Oh wow.
Because and the why is very vague, right? The wizard's name is I'm going to say Ambrose, unless that's terrible. I don't know why. I like the name Ambrose. And I think he killed Ambrose and smote his tower and broke his staff and sent his apprentices to study elsewhere. And when you're looking for the why, right? Like the whole time you're trying to like figure out why did he do this, and it only says he followed the ways of the second archmage.
So I have a couple thoughts about this. One of them is that I imagine it must be infuriating for Elodie if she is like, oh, I'm going to teach you how to read. And she's like, what are we reading? Oh, this book that I've never seen about a topic that I'm super interested in. But instead of reading it at the speed that I can read it at, we're going to read it at the speed of teaching a person who doesn't know how to read. So I can only imagine her just being like, like,
yeah,
part of why this would be so difficult, I can only imagine, is just being like, I want to forget teaching. I want to read this thing. And not that I think
Yeah.
not that that's the impression I get of her, but that's how I would feel. Yeah, I want to teach you how to read, but like,
Yeah.
let me read this book first. The page with the most parenthetical comments of marginalia. Yeah. I think when we get to that part, I say, I'm not a scholar yet. I hope to be one day, but I'm not a scholar yet of all of the archmages. But it seems like nobody knows anything about the second archmage, or there's very little known about him.
There's very little. This is one of the few mentions of him that I have seen in the modern day.
Sounds like whatever he did was not good, or Ignis strongly disapproved, at least. And Igna doesn't seem like a particularly vindictive kind of man, even in his old age. And I think I'm like remembering back to when Igna was like facing Bezar and was like hunched and old, and then facing me and was like appeared younger. And, even when he was talking to Bezar, he wasn't like, he was stubborn and he was driven, but he wasn't cruel or he didn't seem cruel.
No.
And when he was talking to me, he was positively gregarious.
They say he was very nice. Most of the writings I hear, he did not have he was not born into a time that forced him to make very, very, very difficult decisions, like Ostafa. Have you tried to pick up a wheel yet?
Have I tried to pick up a wheel? No. You mean like the wheel? I only know of one.
No. Come. She's like super excited to show you something. Like she is like I think she like grabs your hand, right? And she's just like, come, and she like
I'm like looking over my shoulder at like the book that's behind, but like I just let her run up. That's fine.
She's like it is safe here.
Yeah.
And I think you realize that like the rest of it's the middle of the night. You've kind of gotten done reading this thing.
I'm sure it took hours.
It took hours. You have no idea where Bezor and Rasmus are. They might be asleep, but like the whole tower is dark.
Yeah.
Right. And
I just kind of want to address Andy's earlier question about nuns and smooching. I will just say that this feels like it's a very gregarious and adventurous moment. Who knows where that goes, but
love it. And she takes you upstairs, all the way to the top of the tower, right?
Yeah.
And in the stone, I would say it's like 30 feet diameter, and in the stone is a map of the wheel, which is this continent, and then against a wall, like on a thing that holds a wheel, is
on a wheel rack. I mean,
on a wheel rack. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like Nara would know about how wheels are stored. Right. It's an interesting thing. Like she would know the term for whatever the heck this is. I don't necessarily know it, but
the word for wheel rack that Nara knows and we don't. Right.
Yes. Because her dad was a wheel rack.
I feel like this is like a John Harper moment. Imagine something cool. And something cool is there, right? That's my favorite John Harper DMing thing ever. Imagine something really awesome. So yeah, there's a wheel, and in this wheel rack is a physical, non-burning facsimile of the burning wheel, right? It is made of these thick planks of wood. It's a 5-spoked wheel with iron at each of the spokes, and a powerful, a hub that is well wrought and also ringed in iron, and it's 3 foot high, right? This is a big fucking object.
Yeah, it's a replica of the real deal. Yeah,
and I think Sister L makes the sign of the wheel with her hand. which we haven't really said what it is or whatever, however it works. I don't even want to do it because like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like this, or if it's like this, whatever it is. I don't care. She makes a sign at the wheel with her hand, which I like saying and not saying what it is because I think that's cooler. Everybody can imagine their own sign of the wheel.
Yeah.
And she, yeah, totally. And she said, and then she like goes up and touches it, and she's like, "This is supposed to be made of the exact uh, type of material that the wheel is. It's supposed to weigh the same."
Oh, I've heard it's very heavy. I heard that Ostava carried it well, but the sheer weight of it um, uh, uh, dragged Igna down over the years. And she goes over, and she doesn't feel at all nervous about wheels in general. Like she goes over and she's like knocking at the spokes. She's like banging her
Yeah,
hand against them
yeah,
because
yeah,
she
yeah,
like knows about like how you make a wheel and like how you
yeah.
test if it's sturdy and if it's strong, right? So she's like trying it out, right? Just sort of
I
seeing how well it's made.
I love that that was a total accident too. Like your dad being a wheelwright in game was just like a total fucking
It was
accident. I
just
don't
a
even
throwaway detail.
Yeah, I don't even think you knew that like I was gonna have this whole, wheel pantheon.
No, not at
That was
all.
gonna that was good. Yeah, I love that. I love that her dad is a wheelwright. I think that is like so cool and Jesus-y. It makes me cavell.
It's
Uh,
very cool.
it's very
It,
cool. So
it's great how many times how many times you get payoff from that one like
yeah,
again throwaway detail.
totally. Yeah, I think you like you're banging on it like it's a wheel. Sister L looks like she doesn't want to tell you what to do or what not to do, but she's like, it's just like someone going up to a cross and being like, yeah, you can hang somebody from this, totally. Like, it's that type of deal.
Right.
And
I'm like, no, it's well made. It's sturdy. I'm not gonna hurt it. Don't worry. It's this thing is the binding in here. She talks a little bit about. She's like,
yeah,
this is sturdy work. I mean, this, it doesn't. You can't just build these anywhere.
yeah,
These.
yeah, it's dwarven made, and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful piece of work. And she says, like almost in a whisper, like, do you want to lift it?
And she's like, it looks. She kind of a little taller than Vina, a little of Deke's more gaunt features, but still, you know, 5'8", not particularly muscular.
Right,
Still a young woman that's not like is accustomed to travel on the road and is accustomed to doing lots and lots of menial labor, like fire tending and whatnot, is not accustomed to like weightlifting and
right,
unless they're
right.
carrying heavy things, right? Like
And
that's
yeah, there was a while where a friend of mine got really into like medieval manuscripts, and they talked about different types of strength,
yeah,
and even back then, and they talked about like farm strength and like the more explosive knight's strength, and
yeah. But I
yeah,
do think I like how I appreciate that Andy and Luke are talking about different ways it might be hung from the wall. I do appreciate that if it is hung from like pegs, for instance, that are like through the
yeah,
spokes or something like that,
yeah,
that that like she would be familiar with like the squat stance you're going to get into to like
right,
pull a wheel off the wall before you're going to set it down onto the carriage or something like that, right? So
cool,
I think she's not, my point is she's not super buff, but like maybe this is something she do. She's like yeah, I think she's gonna try it, but I almost think it'd be funnier if she needs to be like help. But
right, right.
I think of yeah. So, you want me to make a power test? See if I
I
can
do,
pull
yeah.
this wheel off of it. I mean,
Um,
it's an important thing because as you said, the archmages have to be able to carry this thing.
right. So I think the ob is going to be different this time than in the future, right? So I think the ob is, once you know and you're used to the weight, I think the
Mhm.
ob is 2. But if you've ever been under really heavy weight, the first time you do it, it is a fucking shock.
Yeah,
And your body's not used to it and your tendons aren't used to it. So I think for the first time it's ob 3.
that makes sense.
And yeah, I just don't know of many times in my burning wheel history where I ask for a meaningful power test to pick something up. I love that, especially right after people, I think John Harper was tweeting like, do not put examples in your game for how to pick things up.
Yeah, of climbing
uh,
walls.
and I'm
Yeah, but if
like, all right, sheer spite. Here it is. Here it is in the
yeah,
game.
here we go. Here we go.
Love it.
All right, so I want to do this carefully. I think I'm kind of getting and I'm like bracing
Yeah.
myself for it. I'm like hefting it without lifting it off the wall, like just to get a
Yeah.
sense of what its weight's going to be like. And I'm like, oh, this thing is heavy. And I kind of like do some stretches and just kind of like take like a big like deep breath in and then breathe out as I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else I can do. You can't fork into. I don't think I can fork into stats. I think it's just a straight roll, right? I don't.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
you can't fork into a stat.
not that I feel like fire building or animal husbandry would be appropriate. All
Yeah.
right, here we go. Let's do this.
I feel like
Silliest.
you're pounding on the keys in a very, oh, nice.
Yes, 4 successes on 5 dice.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I think you like you get it, you get that thing up, and I think you like do the smart thing, which you saw Astofa do, which is you got it under your hip,
Yeah.
right? You don't like the bad way to do this is to like rely on your grip, or even worse, like bend over a little bit and like rely on
Oh
your
no,
arms and
yeah,
your
you
back,
you got to
right?
get under it. Yeah,
And
you
you
can't.
like you get under it and you like get it on your hip, and then you like stand up and kind of like, hold it against your shoulder, like on one hip. And I think like you immediately break out into sweats,
Oh yeah.
right? Because it's just like you're under this ridiculous weight. It um
I still want to explode those sixes because I got 3 of them, but there's just literally no point in doing it. But it's just yeah.
Awesome. Uh yeah, I love it. And yeah, I think you pick up this damn thing and you realize that like, holy shit, this is really difficult and it is not on fire.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Like imagine this, but also on fire.
Yeah.
Does she? How's the room lit?
I mean, you're in like moonlight. I think it's a full moon,
Okay.
and like so you're out, maybe you lit some torches.
Yeah. Cool. Perfect. So I'm gonna like moving, like it's either gonna be like sidestepping. I'm trying to think of like, like the way, because I've done some of this. The way you move when you're carrying something heavy is that like
Yeah.
you brace and then you like get a little burst and then you brace like and then you like catch your breath and like settle in and then you get a little
Yeah.
burst. I'm like kind of waddle sort of a crab walk almost over and like stand next to a torch and be like as if I could take a selfie, like ta-da,
Yeah.
and then that's it. I'm just like, oh, that's it, and I'm gonna go and like,
Put it back in the spot. Yeah.
drop it, put it back on the spot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you like put it back in its spot, and like the places where you were holding it with your hands are indented, and you've got a bruise on your hip where you had it on your hip, and you
Yeah.
might even have a bruise on your shoulder.
Yeah.
But yeah, you picked the fucking thing up without a doubt. I love it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, when I've done this, I am now flushed. My hands are white from that. I got the bruises. What's Elodie's reaction?
Yeah, she like
giddy excitement.
Yeah, she applauds. She says that was amazing. That's a very heavy piece of equipment.
Yeah, they didn't lie when they said it was heavy. And she's like catching her breath, and she's like, but like, there's been a lot of today that's been like really like tense and like fraught. And even when she got it right, she didn't know if she got it right with like Satarbi. She was just like, I guess we're in business now. But this is like feeling this like exulting feeling of success. Like, I don't know, lifting things is fun. I enjoy lifting things. It is rewarding to lift heavy things. So yeah, I'm
I
channeling
I
a little of
I
that
I think
into
I think she
Nara.
like she says like there is a monk who wrote an anonymous series of scrolls about the choosing of the fourth archmage, and he was very uh, naughty. She's like looking for the right word, and she says naughty, and she says he followed Igna down uh, away from the crowd and said that Igna vomited 3 times on his way down the mountain. And his joke was that if he was truly a holy archmage, he would have vomited 5 times, which is pretty funny. But again, he is just, it's not, I do not recommend his texts for real history, but for, if you want something funny, it's very funny.
Yeah, we have such a shallow well of archmagery humor that so
He was like,
everything.
wait, no one's written an archmage dick joke book. I am your fucking man.
I
It's gonna,
even do.
this, I, I am writing that book. And they're like, we're taking your name off it because otherwise you're going to get murdered. And he's like, I don't even fucking care, dude. I don't even care I don't care. That book is getting written.
Yeah,
Uh, totally. Uh, Love it.
it's making me think of like the R. Crumb art of crusty book writers.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes. Cool. Um, awesome. I think we can. Do you want to just like do a little bit where you wake up the next morning? Is there anything you want to do that
Yeah,
night?
no, I think that's cool. I think I take Sister L's hand, and I'm all sweaty and gross, but I don't really care. And I say, let's go outside, and I sort of lead her outside to get some fresh air.
Yeah,
And I don't think I spent a lot of time walking around Shadowhold at night, and so
yeah,
I think we can just like cut to them walking around outside, getting some fresh air for a little bit before
yeah.
we like go to the next day.
Cool. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, that's nice. Cool. Is there
Yeah.
something romantic happening there? Like, is it
I don't know. Maybe.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I did not introduce her for that, but there's something going on, and
I it's I'm not sure if it's romantic or if it's just like, oh, somebody else who's my age that like I
yeah,
feel like I can be have fun around and not
yeah.
worry that like having fun makes me a bad student necessarily. So I
Right.
don't
Yeah,
know. I think it's just friendship right now, but
yeah,
it could be more. But right now I just get the like, oh, you're young and fun and like not an old dude who I'm constantly not sure if I'm disappointing or not, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. That's I feel like you've described all college friendships, right?
Right.
Yeah, totally. It's like,
Right.
it might be romantic, it might not. I just know that when I'm doing it, when I'm with them, I don't feel guilty about not doing work. So that's fucking good enough for me.
Yeah, it's
Whatever.
fun. Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
cool. Can we take a bio break at our second
Absolutely.
hour,
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
yeah, figure out what we're doing for the rest of the game.
That sounds great. That sounds great. All right, friends. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for helping us about mounting, wheel racking strategies, wheel lifting strategies. You're all exactly the wonderful people that I want to have here helping me carry this
Yes.
big old wheel.
I mean, when you come to a game about wizards, you're clearly going to have a game about economics and powerlifting. Like, right? That's clearly what the game is going to be about. So, like, if 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 you're surprised by this content, like, what wizard books are you reading? Like,
Yeah.
you're not reading the investment powerlifting wizard books. Like, clearly, you need to read better wizard novels. Like,
Yeah,
seriously,
absolutely.
what is fantasy fiction even doing?
Those tomes are heavy. Let me say. It's a good point. Got to build up. I remember
uh,
carrying weight my back a backpack just absolutely stuffed with D&D books.
That,
in high
yeah,
school to the point where, I was like, yeah, it's a workout. It's a lift.
yeah.
All right.
I've definitely, having worked in libraries for a little over a decade before my current job, whenever someone who I am managing drops a book or drops a bunch of books, and it's inevitable, you always say, like, you can't show fear. Like, the books can smell fear, and sometimes you just got to show them who's boss. Like, that's just the way it is. So and they laugh, and I'm like, it's not a big deal. So they know it's not a big deal, and we move on. But anyway, yeah, it just what you said just reminded me of that.
Nice.
Good times.
All right. We'll see everybody back in a few.
Yep.